anything that we can do to better the lives of the pups is what we're aiming for. So if we can't do it, we always look to have a referral, like we can't do it, but this company can, or this person can, because again, it's not about the dollar, it's about the dog.
Welcome to the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. I'm Tori Mystic. As a dog mom lifestyle expert, blogger, and business owner, I love talking to other women in the pet industry and sharing their advice with you every week. Sit, stay, and listen to the latest episode. In this episode, I had the pleasure of talking to Tara Robertson, the founder of PupStars Pet Care in Chicago. Tara first started her business walking dogs on her own back in 2006. And with demand from her customers for boarding and grooming, she decided to hire help and move her operation to a brick and mortar facility in 2014. Right before the pandemic hit, she upgraded to a larger space where she can offer almost anything her doggy clients need, from daycare to transportation, grooming to CPR and first aid classes. Hearing about her business and services, the number one priority for Tara is safety. She and her team work really closely with pets and their people to do temperament tests, offer training advice, and sometimes recommend daily walks instead of daycare. Tara is definitely a woman after my own heart, doing all the things, but she told me that slow and steady has really been the key to her success. If you need a community of women in the pet industry to support your dreams and bounce your ideas off of, I'd like to invite you to join the Wear, Wag, Repeat Society. It's like a masterclass for growing and marketing your pet business online. But membership only opens a few times a year, so please get on the waitlist at wearwagrepeat.com/society. Tara Robertson started working in the pet care industry when she was just in high school. She started as a veterinary assistant as part of a school work program. From there, she transitioned to the daycare and boarding side of things and officially started her own business, PupStars Pet Care, in 2006. Since then, she has grown it into a first-class 10,000 square foot operation with luxury boarding suites in Chicago. Welcome, Tara.
Hi, Tori. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to talk to you and hear all about PupStars. Before we hit record, I was asking you a few questions. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit how you got started, because when you first started, you were just walking dogs on your own, and now you've grown it into this huge business.
I was walking dogs from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. and that got to be a bit much, and we realized we needed to hire help. So we hired an additional 2 walkers, and that really cut down on my workload. And then from there, clients just started asking about, boarding. Can you watch my dog in your house? Can you give my dog a bath and whatnot? So in 2014 is when we opened our first brick and mortar. It was a 4,000 square foot facility on Western and Erie in Chicago. And yeah, it was a great start for our first, brick and mortar facility.
Yeah. So you already kind of had the customer base a little bit, and they came with you to this brick and mortar store, which was a huge advantage.
Yes, it helped tremendously. And then, for those of you that don't know about Ukrainian Village in Chicago, it's heavily dog populated. Everybody loves dogs. Everybody has dogs. So we had a lot of community, support. At first, people were like, "What's this big purple building that's, going up in our neighborhood?" And yeah, it was us, and we were well received, and we've had long-term, lifelong clients.
And so now you have a different building, right?
We do.
And
So
it's much bigger.
It's much bigger. And 6 months before the pandemic hit, we relocated to a 10,000 square foot facility, which we purchased. And, you can plan for everything, but you don't plan for a pandemic. I assure you that. But, it's big. It's got ample indoor, outdoor space. I mean, we really did it with the dogs in mind, to make sure they're comfortable, to make sure they have tons of space to, run around and enjoy themselves.
Yeah, I watched a video, I think on your website, about your facility, and it looks just so clean and so nice, and there's so much space for all the dogs. Was it hard to find that space? Did you look for a really long time to find the perfect place?
Yes, definitely. All the places we looked at were really lacking, something. And, you can only do so much with contractors. You can't just, build open space out of thin air, So we were really lucky that this particular building had, a huge parking lot, and we were able to divvy that up for three separate, basically, dog play areas. We have a membership-based dog park called Peyton's Playground. It's named after one of our long time, she was a yellow lab veteran clients and she passed away. So yeah, we named it in honor of her.
So I'm so curious about a membership dog park. How does that work?
So basically, when you go to normal dog parks, there's no fee. There's no one that's going to clean it for you. You get what you get when you get in there. Sometimes it's a social dog, sometimes it's not. Maybe they're vaccinated, maybe they're not. So with Peyton's Playground, we actually can vet the dogs that become members. So we make sure that their vaccines and fecals are up to date. And we do our version of a temperament test, which is just to make sure that, the dog is okay being around other dogs and, they're social, just to minimize any possible, incidences that may occur in the park. And of course, we have rules, we don't allow food in the active play area. What else? No toys. Some dogs get possessive over that. We have our own obstacle course. So we have, A-frame agility equipment. So the dogs really do have plenty to do there, and people can actually, focus on their pup.
And can people go, if they're a member, can they go and use it whenever they want?
They can. So we have basically a thumbprint reader is what gives you access to the park.
Whoa, you guys are like James Bond over there.
We're trying because, the thing is, when you give out codes, all of a sudden people are sharing that code with someone. So it's really a kind of a quality control thing. That's why we opted to go this route. We actually also have a coffee shop that was supposed to be built on the side of the park right before the pandemic hit. The business partners basically said, we can't do it right now. So we are hoping to open that, sooner rather than later. And
that would be really cool.
Yeah, because I'm sure you've seen it. Everyone has. Someone wants to run into Starbucks and get a coffee. They have their dog. They tie him to a pole. Oh my God, it's so dangerous. I've seen dogs get loose from that, step off the curb when a car's turning. So I really just, in building this, I had all of that in mind, and I just wanted to, solve a problem.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like kind of the thing that's running through is safety for you is probably like the number one thing, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So, you're vetting the dogs for the membership, but you also are really careful with dogs for your daycare. And you say that not every dog is a daycare dog. I have friends whose dogs have flunked out of daycare.
Oh boy.
And man, do they get upset about it. But they don't really seem to like follow up and do any work with their dog on it. So for you, like as a daycare owner, how do you evaluate, or what do you tell to people if their dog's not a daycare dog? What do you do?
We try to be very just transparent, and sometimes people don't want to hear it. And it's like, each dog is different. Some dogs thrive, in this environment. Others, they kind of ball up and they go into a shell. So it's on the individual dog, and just letting people know, like, it's nothing personal. We want what's best for your dog, even if that means your dog isn't going to be coming to our facility. But we also like to offer options, like we do dog walking. That's where we started. Those are our roots. So let us come to you. Let's keep your dog comfortable. We can go a couple times a day and let your dog just explore the neighborhood. It'll just be less stressful on the dog, instead of coming to our facility where they're definitely going to encounter 15 dogs, 30 dogs, depending on the group they're in.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. And you keep them as a customer. I'm just thinking, there's so many daycares around me. And my dogs are older, and so we don't, and I work from home all the time. So we don't really use it as often, but I don't think any of them offer dog walking services. So that seems like such an opportunity for local dog walkers to maybe partner with them. Like, you obviously have a whole team, but do you think that's like a good idea for someone to reach out to daycares about partnering?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we pride ourselves on being a one-stop shop. So we have everything in-house, and the person that you see, in group with our dogs very well could be, walking your dog at another time. So your dog has the familiarity of the staff that's there. But absolutely, I mean, for us, anything that we can do to better the lives of the pups is what we're aiming for. So if we can't do it, we always look to have a referral, like we can't do it, but this company can, or this person can, because again, it's not about the dollar, it's about the dog.
Yeah. And about the relationship with the customer. Like if
Yep.
you make them feel good, like you're still fulfilling their need by referring them to someone, they will use you when they can next
Yep,
time.
exactly. And we do pet retail as well. So we have, a lot of different avenues to where we can, assist pet owners, one way or another. So we like to always leave people with options. We've also partnered with a wonderful training company called Anything is Possible. And so if our current dogs develop a behavior problem, or a dog comes in and it's not, a good fit for daycare, and they have problems, we can refer them to this, company. And then you never know, we always can reassess at a later date.
Right. It's so cool. I love how you really have like every base covered, it sounds like, which is really awesome. So I want to ask you, when if you could go back to young Tara back in the day, what advice would you give yourself when you were first starting with the brick and mortar location?
Oh, don't think you know it all. Don't be afraid. So when I was younger, I knew I wanted to do this, work with animals in some capacity. And then when I really realized, okay, I want to open my own facility, I had this vision of a big, glorious 30,000 square foot facility, all the bells and whistles. And it's like, had I done that, I probably would have fell flat on my face. I know a lot, but I didn't know it all. And you learn a lot with trial and error. And it's a lot easier to start off small with lower overhead and be able to make those mistakes and bounce back versus, go all out and then just, not be prepared for certain things such as the pandemic. And, my husband is really the one that pushed me to go small. Just start off here. Don't worry about, I know you want to do this, big glamorous thing, but start small. And it worked out because we were able to, move to the larger location.
Yeah, take baby steps.
Yep.
That's good. It's good to have someone like that because I'm like you. I'm like, let's do everything
Yep.
right
Me too.
now.
Yep. Me too.
I'm a big believer in reaching out when I need help. 45 minutes with an expert can save me hours or even months of work. Do you feel like you hit a wall with what you can figure out on your own? Or do you have an idea that you really need to bounce off someone who gets pet parents? I'm now offering one-on-one coaching to give you the help you need to spend less time working and more time with your pet. These coaching sessions are designed to help you with your marketing, social media strategy, goal setting, and overall vision for the impact you make in the lives of pets and their people. Learn more and book a call with me. All the info can be found at wearwagrepeat.com/courses. And as always, if you have any questions about if this is right for you, just reach out and ask. You know where to find me. But another thing, you do still do a lot of things though, Tara. So another thing you're doing is CPR, pet CPR classes.
Yes.
So why is that important to you? And you're hosting some of those classes. Why is that important to you?
So, all our staff that comes on board has to be CPR certified or get, CPR certified very quickly. The CPR and first aid is just really good for any pet owner to have. I've seen, people on online forums, their dog gets a scratch and they're panicking and they don't know what to do. So they rush to the nearest vet, and vets are expensive these days, and don't let it be after hours. We're talking about emergency clinic fees. So I think to give people a little bit more peace of mind on how to deal with situations when they arise, what's really serious and warrants immediate vet attention versus this can wait till the next day. And just being comfortable, if something happens to your baby, you want to make sure that you can act and you know what to do. So the CPR and first aid really helps with that, choking, nicks, cuts, scrapes, punctures. It just really helps, put your mind at ease, I think.
Yeah. So it's real. I mean, obviously gives pet owners who are using you a lot of peace of mind because your whole staff has that certification, but you also think that pet parents should pursue that too.
Yep, absolutely. Because you never know what's going to happen. You're taking your dog to a dog park or, whatever it may be, an allergic reaction to some new treat you gave them. This just gives you, a leg up on what to do. And you don't necessarily have to, Google it. You'll have it in your mind. Okay, I need to grab this bandage, or I need to wrap this or put pressure, it's very helpful. I think everybody should definitely, if you have a pet, you should know pet CPR.
Well, now I think I need to take one of these courses because people, and I also need to recommend it to people because I get so many DMs from my friends and family and strangers on the internet sending me gross pictures of things on their dog and asking me, what should I do about this?
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I don't know, just like clean it, keep it dry, see if it gets worse. But I should probably double check that my advice is good advice.
Yeah, when in doubt, obviously, a vet is always your go-to, but I get the same thing just because, my background started, in animal hospitals. So,
yeah. So you also are passionate about rescues, but you mentioned to me earlier that people can adopt purebreds and don't think about that a lot. So why is this something that's that's important to you, and or maybe not important, but that more people should know about, I guess?
I mean, it's definitely important. So here's the thing. I mean, during this pandemic, you heard that a lot of people were clearing out the shelters and adopting dogs, which is wonderful, right? But it's even better if those dogs stay in the home. So,
Right.
They get the proper training and all that good stuff. And now you have those that decided not to go to a shelter because they wanted quote unquote pure breed dogs, there are actually breed specific rescues out there. So if you want a Rottweiler and you're really aiming for that, reach out to a Rottweiler rescue, golden retrievers. Like, it's crazy over the
breed.
years.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
amazing.
any breed. Over these years, I have seen amazing dogs come through shelters, and they come to us, for service. And it's like, whoa, wait, you got your dog where? And it wasn't even a breed specific shelter. They just ended up in the city pound or whatnot. So a lot of people do purchase dogs and realize that they bit off more than they can chew, and they do end up in the shelter. So I always, encourage everyone to just check, look around. You got Pet Finder, you got Google. Google knows just about everything. So, Google breed specific rescues, take your time and make sure you find the dog for you. And definitely don't underestimate the mutts in the shelter because they tend to have less health problems. And, any dog, can be trained. And, for me, just about every dog is a good dog. It's not just pure breeds.
Well, and I think it's interesting too, whether your dog is pure breed or mixed with many different breeds, it's nice to know what their heritage is, what their background is, because certain dogs are going to have certain drives to do different activities.
Absolutely.
So some love to chase, some love to hunt. And even if you live in like Pittsburgh or Chicago, you'd be surprised at how many kind of like hunting activities you can do with your dog, not actually hunting, but to encourage that kind of natural behavior. And so, yeah, I think it's just, you have to really do a lot of research. But it is, there's so many great dogs out there that, I always kind of had like a problem with the whole adopt, don't shop kind of thing, because I think that that makes people look badly on purebreds, but you can adopt purebred dogs too.
Yes, exactly. I always do. I'm not going to lie. I do advocate for the adopt, don't shop, because I think people just have a lot of misconceptions. I have to get a pure breed because I want this look or I want this specific thing. And it's like, I'm telling you, there's so many rescues throughout the US. You're going to find what you're looking for. And if you're willing to spend $3,000 on a dog, then you can probably find a dog in a shelter, spend half that price and go out and, make a fun road trip of it and pick up the pet, and
Yeah.
rescues have gotten so, clever with the pandemic. They're doing like Zoom, Zoom calls to meet the dogs and, sending picture updates and whatnot. So yeah, I think I want everyone to weigh their options. And if you're not sure, you can always foster to adopt. Hey, this works or it doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, and I also think that looking at older adult dogs or even senior dogs is such a great option for people. I think so many people want to just get a puppy, and it's a lot of work.
Yes, lots of puppy problems. And it's funny, you mentioned different types of dogs for different, basically different personalities, different lifestyles. I can't recall what the site is, but there's like a personality test that you can take online, and it tells you what breeds you'd be best suited for.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. I'm going to look for that.
Yeah.
Cause I think about it all the time. I hear people saying, oh, yeah, I had these old neighbors like a long, long time ago who had an old English sheepdog, like those big giant ones.
Yeah, big shaggies. Yep.
And they didn't, I don't think, know anything about this breed or anything. And they're like, oh, I forget what his name was. I think his name was Charlie or something. And they're like, Charlie's just, he's so depressed. I think we're just going to give him like a self-care day, and we're going to give him a bath, and we're going to let him hang out and watch TV and just nap all day. And I was like, I don't think that's what your dog would consider self-care.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. A lot of people have these things in their mind, like, oh, my dog is happy, my dog is smiling, but to a professional, it's like your dog is stressed right now,
Yeah, your dog is thirsty and hot.
Yes. Yeah. So knowing those things, that the average person may not know. And it can't be all about looks. The big craze right now is doodles. And I love doodles. They come in all shapes, sizes, colors. But do you know what you're getting into when it comes to the grooming of a doodle?
Yeah.
Because I assure you most don't, but it to each his own, but there's resources out there. There's a lot of options. So that's all I can ask for, is that people really just do that research and make sure it's a good fit, so we don't have extra dogs in the shelter.
Yeah. Keeping them in the home is number one priority. So speaking of COVID and the pandemic and everything, I'm sure it was just a total nightmare for you because you probably had to shut down for a while. But now that things are loosening up with restrictions, but a lot of people are still working from home, why is it important that they might still use daycare or use a dog walker or something like that, even if they are home all day?
So over the last year, dogs have been under their humans almost 100% of the time, whether it was a dog that, they've had forever or a newly adopted dog. So they've gotten used to this. You have to break them, from that routine and that habit nice and easy before things really, go back to normal full throttle. I think that a lot of dogs have developed, anxiety, when their parents walk out the door. Now, wait, but you've been here all this time. Where are you going? So we're really encouraging, for people to make sure their dogs are experiencing other things outside of the house, outside of them. And that's really where we come in. So it's no big deal for, bring your dog in for a couple hours, take a day to yourself, so this way you're setting, yourself up and your pup for success when it comes to you going back to work, outside of the home.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. I am never going anywhere. Even when people go back to quote unquote normal life, I'll still be with Bert and Lucy, but it is still important to because I will probably want to go out to dinner eventually one day. And so I will be leaving the house at some point. So you're right. You have to kind of do it gently. Even just like 15 minutes at a time is good.
Yeah. And it's better to, what is it? What's the saying? I'd rather need it. I'd rather have it and not need it, or need it and not have that whole thing, because then all of a sudden you're in a frenzy, like, oh my God, I have dinner plans, or I need to do this, or leave town, unexpectedly. And that is a shock to your pup. If you haven't established, a different routine, if you haven't taught your pup how to, be comfortable in a kennel, and they have to go to the vet and be away from, just all these different dynamics and things that, one is most likely going to encounter over the span of a dog's life, so it's really just, it's conditioning.
Right. Well, so speaking of dogs, you have your own dog, Mello.
I do.
How did Mello come into your life?
Okay. So, I'm the crazy dog lady that's always got, some dog food or a leash in my car or something like that. And I was actually transporting 2 of my clients' dogs to my home, and I see this dog in the street. And he's just kind of standing on the curb at first, and then he steps off and there's a semi truck coming, and I'm like, oh my God. So I pull over and I, try to ask, does anybody know whose dog this is? Like, and nobody knew. At first I thought this lady had her hand out. I thought it was, her dog, but she was like, get away from me, because he is a Staffordshire Terrier. So he's a bully baby. And once I found out that nobody knew anything about this dog, he had a Harley Davidson collar on, he wasn't neutered, I was like, okay, well, I can't just leave him here. So I have a leash, luckily, but my obstacle was I had 2 dogs in the car. I can't just put a random dog in the car with my client's dog. So I asked somebody to hold on to him for me for a couple hours. I dropped off the dogs that I had, and then basically went to get him checked out, seeing if he had a chip or anything like that. And nobody claimed him. So, after a month, I'm like, I guess you're mine, buddy. So, yep. And
that's a crazy story. Well, I can't believe that someone held him for a few hours and he was still there when you got back.
Yeah. Luckily I knew somebody, close by. So
okay.
Yeah.
You knew them. Okay.
Yeah. He held on to him, and I was like, I'm going to come back for him. I just have to get these dogs out of my car. So he was about, we expect about 8 months, maybe a year and a half. And he is 12 now, 12 and a half.
Oh, so you've had him for a long time.
Yes. He's grown up with my kids. I mean, great dog. Great dog.
Yeah. It sounds like it was meant to be. He was waiting there for you.
Yeah. I'd like to think so.
That's how I feel about my dog, Bert. He was in the shelter for over a year because he's big. He's like almost 90 pounds. And was bouncing off the walls, but he was also a senior, because when I got him, he was 6 or 7. So he's listed as a senior.
Yeah.
And he's also special needs. He has epilepsy. And so he's dark brown. So he hit all the things of like non-adoptable.
Right.
And so I think that he was just waiting for me. I was like, you could have just called me sooner. I just didn't know you were waiting for me.
I love that.
Okay. So Tara, to wrap it up, can you tell us, to run your business, are there any like services or apps or websites that you can't live without? I mean, the thumb print reader sounds amazing. We're going to have to look up that because I'm just interested. But anything else that you can't live without to run your business?
Well, Lockley is the biometric, reader for the dog park, the locks and whatnot. I would say Ginger app is really, that's what streamlines our processes. So you can book, you can, charge clients. They have their own portal. They can look at previous invoices. So I think right now we cannot live without that. We had a software prior to that was, it could do maybe half the things, but this has definitely helped take us to another level. Is
that specific to the pet industry or just?
It is, yes. Okay. It is industry specific software.
Okay, cool. We'll have to check that out. We'll add that to the Wear, Wag, Repeat resource guide. I make a list of everything everyone recommends.
Awesome.
So we'll add that in there. And Tara, thank you so much for your time and for telling us about PupStars. It was really great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
What did you like most about this episode? Find me on Instagram at TMystic and let me know what intrigued you or what questions you have about starting or growing your own dog-inspired business. You can also screenshot this episode and tag me in your stories. I love to see who is listening out there. Some of the best conversations happen after the episode, right? So track me down over on Instagram or join the Wear, Wag, Repeat Labs Facebook group to connect with other dog-obsessed entrepreneurs. And as always, you can find all the links and resources discussed in this episode at wearwagrepeat.com/podcast. See you back here next week.